For Old Comic Book Day, I have been reading Silver Surfer, Volume 3. Gotten 4 issues in. You can see the fourth one right here. And I have to say, this is the wonkiest start to a comic book series that I've ever read. Hey, this is James for Read More Comics. As I said in the intro, I've been reading Volume 3 of Silver Surfer. I've gotten 4 issues in, and this is a part of my Old Comic Book Day. How do I want to put this? It's not procedure. It's like an extravaganza. It's just the process, how I'm diving into my collection. If you want to know more about it, I have a link right up there. But that's not the focus. What I really want to do is explore my experience reading this title, kind of giving you a glimpse issue to issue of how wonky this intro, these 4 issues are. And honestly, the conclusion I'm coming to as a modern reader is I'm surprised this had a 146 issue run. This was initially published in July of 1987, so almost 40 years ago. This was supposed to be released 5 months prior to, no, that's wrong. My apologies. There was a delay in releasing this. It was several months behind due to a scheduling issue. And we'll talk more about that and how that resulted in this weird intersection of story between this title and some other Marvel titles at the time. How it connects to prior canon established in Fantastic Four, and also Silver Surfer Volume 1 and 2. And it ends up being this weird buffet of story. So what I'm really enjoying about Old Comic Book Day is that I am looking at a title through the lens of being a modern reader. And this really stands out here with Silver Surfer Volume 3, that I'm not coming at it as someone who's reading it from month to month to month to month with a break in between. I have the advantage of reading it from the context of I have the whole run. I know that there's a beginning, middle, and end, and then it's going to end with issue 146. So when I'm reading each one of these issues, one of the things that kind of is underwhelming then is when we get to a cliffhanger. I know it's going to resolve because there are issues after it. But also, I have the advantage of digging deeper into questions and understanding why things happened the way they did. Okay, so to start with, this title was delayed. It was actually supposed to be released in the winter of 1987, ended up being released in the summer. And that's going to become important because there is some intersection with other titles, other appearances of Silver Surfer that end up happening in issue number 3 that really should have happened in issue number 5, which would have allowed this title to germinate, for the story beats to kind of cement themselves. And we don't get this in the title. Let's get to some background first. Now, the first thing that we need to know is the continuity that was established with the first appearance of the Silver Surfer way back in Fantastic Four issues 48, 49, and 50. This happened in March of 1966. In this, and if you've seen the Fantastic Four movie or any Silver Surfer cartoons, you probably have some inkling of what was going on. But in this, Galactus shows up. Silver Surfer is his herald. Silver Surfer has selected Earth as Galactus's next target. And then by the end of it, after meeting Alicia Masters, Silver Surfer teams up with the Fantastic Four and prevents Galactus from destroying the Earth. Now, as a consequence of that, Silver Surfer is condemned by Galactus to be trapped on Earth, that he's not allowed to leave. There is some sort of barrier or shield that keeps Silver Surfer from leaving Earth. And this is explored a little bit more in both the Volume 1 Silver Surfer title, but also in Volume 2. So this is Volume 2 of Silver Surfer. This is a one-shot graphic novel. It's 56-ish pages long. This was published in 1981. 1982. The story is by Stan Lee. The art is by John Byrne. It is really a nice kind of story if you're looking at getting Silver Surfer into Silver Surfer. This is a nice on-ramp. You can easily find copies of this on the secondary market for a reasonable price. I think I paid $20 for this. Now, granted, that was before COVID, so maybe the prices have changed. This does two things, and I think this is the struggle that Silver Surfer Volume 3 has. First thing is this recaps a lot of history. You know, considering Fantastic Four issues 48 through 50 came out in the 60s, this book is not quite, but almost 20 years later, okay? And so the readers at the time when this book came out may not have access to those Fantastic Four issues, may not be familiar with Silver Surfer's background. And so part of what this issue does is recap that. It spends about 20 pages recapping Silver Surfer's origin story, and conflict with Galactus and what happened because of that, how he ends up being trapped in Earth. Now, this is actually a pretty engaging title. John Byrne is like swinging for the fences when we're looking at artistic style. But after the recap, what turns out really kind of is something that Silver Surfer Volume 3, at least the writer, Steve Englehart, decides he has to grapple with. Let's take a look inside of this just so you get an idea of what's going on. Now, one thing I want to point out is when we're looking at this, and so here we have kind of the recap. Here is Shalla-Bal, there's Norrin Radd, Silver Surfer. What we're getting at is, cool Galactus. Let me skip ahead. One of the things that I think John Byrne does exceedingly well is these space shots. So here in this part of the story, Silver Surfer is struggling with the barrier that Galactus set around the Earth to imprison him. What's interesting about this is for Silver Surfer, the Earth is a prison, but for Earth's heroes, it's home, so it's not a big deal. Silver Surfer's just used to a larger playground, if you will. We get these amazing space shots, and I want you to kind of keep this in mind when we get to the next volume. Here we have the Fantastic Four having befriended Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four issues way back in the 60s, helping Norrin Radd out, and he's finally able to escape, okay? We get him celebrating. He goes back to Zenn-La, and he finds it's destroyed. Now, this is important to the canon, the story of Silver Surfer, because what ends up coming out is that because he betrayed Galactus, Galactus went back to Zenn-La, and he ends up feeding off the planet. Here we see the Zenn-Lavians seeing Silver Surfer as their betrayer and like trying to smack him around. This is Shalla-Bal's dad. What is Andar Law? I think Andar Law. Andar Ball. I think, yeah, right there, Andar Ball. Sorry about that. That was a total like rabbit hole I didn't need to go down. And he finds out that Galactus didn't do this out of any sense of revenge. It was just a quid pro quo. Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, said, hey, I will serve you fine planets. He stopped doing that. And Galactus had in return said, well, I won't feed on your planet, but since you're not helping me, I'm going to go feed on your planet. There is this side story involving Mephisto, and this ties back into some issues of Fantastic Four involving Doctor Doom trying to siphon off the power cosmic from Silver Surfer. I'm only like fleetingly aware of it. I have not read those issues. And so he goes back to Earth, which earlier in the issue we find out that if he goes back to Earth, Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards says this, if you go back to Earth, you're going to be trapped again. And well, he goes back to Earth because Mephisto has kidnapped the love of his life, Shalla-Bal. He ends up being trapped back in Earth. He goes to Latveria, and we see him beat up some robots. He finds who he thinks is Shalla-Bal, but only by physical appearance, this character right here. But because of Mephisto's machinations, she knows nothing about him. And so we get kind of this fight in the netherworld, and the end product, and this is really what's going to be important here. Okay, let me flip back a page. So he ends up defeating Mephisto, and Mephisto, in his last moments, transforms Shalla-Bal into this energy sphere, sending it out of the planet's atmosphere back to Zenn-La. And right here, this is the important part, Silver Surfer empowers this sphere with the power, some of his power cosmic. You see he returns to Earth right here. And this is one of the things that, and I began reading Silver Surfer during the slot run, highly recommend it. This is one of the things that really irritates me about Silver Surfer. He just groans on and on and on about what he's lost because he decided to become the Surfer. We find out, and these are the key scenes right here. We find out that because she's been empowered by the power cosmic, as she walks around Zenn-La, she is helping to revitalize it after Galactus's depredations. And we end with this splash scene. Okay, so this is a key part of the Volume 3 story, and we'll see that, at least the opening. We'll see that as we kind of dive into issue number 1. What it seems that the creative team is doing in these first 4 issues is tying up parts of Silver Surfer's canon that already exists. So in the Fantastic Four issues, Silver Surfer is trapped on Earth. We open up, let's see, with this space shot. Now, one of the things that I'm finding, and this was a question that led me down a rabbit hole that I never expected. The printing in this issue, in this volume, opens up, and it is very different than the printing quality we had in this graphic novel right here that came out in 1991. Even though this is 6 years later, the quality control of printing is remarkably inferior. And that's something we're going to see. I'll try to point it out here and there where it really stands out. So we have this opening space shot. I think the creative team recognized that with a cosmic character, you need to have these really wide panels. And we have a couple splash pages. We get to the opening right here, this opening splash page with Silver Surfer. And this first issue is titled Free, foreshadowing that Silver Surfer is going to be free of Galactus's prison. I originally said this was Steve Englehart, and I totally muffed that up. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. We see the Fantastic Four helping the Silver Surfer. Interesting ads. I love the ads in older comic books. And what ends up happening is twofold. One, we see that the Fantastic Four is helping the Silver Surfer escape the Earth, that Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, has a plan. Okay, I do enjoy how, like in this this particular panel, how Silver Surfer is actually sitting on his surfboard like it is an actual surfboard. And I think some of the design, the angles kind of reflect that. So I have to give the artist props for that. I think that is something that we really didn't see in John Byrne or Kirby's particular iterations of the Surfer. Then we have a character named the Champion. He's one of the elders of the universe show up. And this is tying in to the crossover. It's really not even a crossover, but there are appearances in West Coast Avengers and Avengers annuals that come out right before issue number 3 involving the elders of the universe. And so this is kind of seeding that. There's a throwdown right here, and the Silver Surfer is able to fight off the Champion, which, you know, to be honest, there's 146 issues in this run. We know, as modern readers, he's going to do. This is really just kind of a prologue for that story in West Coast Avengers, in Avengers, and then also moving on in issues 4 and 5. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead because we have a lot of narrative giving some background to what's been going on in the past. But what's important is right here. So this is where we get to this point where Reed Richards has an idea, and the idea basically is he, Norrin Radd, is trapped on Earth because he's trying to use his board to escape. That if he rides on a ship like he is right here with the FF, he's going to be able to escape. Okay. To wrap up the story with Galactus, though, the second half of this book, and this comic is about 20 pages larger than a normal comic. I think it has 56 pages. It costs a little bit more, 50 cents more, where comics at the time would have had 32 pages, just like comics now. He's in space, very creative use of paneling. And then we see him encounter Galactus. And what's going on here is the creative team need to wrap up that initial story that started way back in 1966, that they don't want to keep coming back to Galactus re-imprisoning or Norrin Radd being imprisoned every time he revisits Earth. This is going to be more of a cosmic story, so that's not what I expect going to happen frequently, but it is going to happen. So he ends up helping Galactus on this planet because Galactus's current Herald is trapped. We see Nova right here as the current Herald, and he helps her escape. Okay, and as a result of that, what ends up happening is Galactus frees him from his imprisonment on Earth. Okay, so this is issue 1. It's really tying up that FF storyline from the 1960s. In the beginning of in the end of the first 3 issues, we also have this essay that's going through the background of the Silver Surfer, but it's on the production side. It's really not talking about the story itself. It's talking about the development of the story and how, after a point, Stan Lee became the gatekeeper of the Silver Surfer because it was one of his favorite characters. I found this pretty interesting, actually. Now, what got me, you know, here we have, this is a pretty long essay, and there are 3 more pages of this. What got me about this is I'm reading this comic and I'm wondering who was the audience, the demographic Marvel had targeted for this book. Because, you know, if we're talking about a kid in the late 80s, so 1987, if a middle schooler is the target audience, are they going to read an essay about the production of Silver Surfer, about its evolution, his evolution as a character starting way back in the 1960s? I don't think they would. Okay, but you look at the ads, like we have House 2, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, they're definitely playing candy ads, and we saw that throughout. They're definitely playing to a younger audience. Okay, so that's the first part of the canon wrapped up, or at least we're having some resolution with issue number 1. With issue number 2, what's happening is it's wrapping up part of the story that was introduced again in Fantastic Four. This one's focused on the origin story of Norrin Radd, on Zenn-La and his love of Shalla-Bal, but also what was established in the last couple pages of the Volume 2 standalone issue. Sorry, I'm like shuffling around comic books off camera. So this one we see, it's titled Shalla-Bal. Steve Englehart is the writer. I guess I had that right. Anyway, and Joe Rubenstein doing the inks. Very nice. So he returns to Zenn-La, and the first part of this story is honestly finding out, Norrin Radd finding out that Zenn-La is being revitalized and has been for some time because of the power cosmic that Norrin Radd put into Shalla-Bal. And as a result of that, she now is not only the leader, I think, let's see, Empress of Zenn-La, but also her responsibilities put having a relationship with Norrin Radd on the back burner, where it's not something that she can responsibly do. Now, there's a backstory that's introduced here, and I think it's important probably in the long term, but I haven't seen it play out yet. There's some backstory involving the Skrulls and the Kree. The first part of this, honestly, is that the Skrulls can no longer shapeshift. Okay, it doesn't really go into why, because it's maybe not as important for this story, but that's apparently some of the political aspect of the book that's going to be explored. Now, I'm going to be honest, in the first 4 issues, except for that coming up over and over and over again, I haven't seen it pay off. So maybe it's a little bit farther down the line. He recreates his home in Zenn-La using the power cosmic. And then we find out, and this was actually, someone tries to assassinate him. It turns out it was a Skrull, someone who looked like a Zenn-Lavian, but was actually a Skrull. He comes back, confronts the Skrulls with the Empress, Shalla-Bal, and she ends up like basically kicking the Skrulls off the planet, saying, hey, you can't do this. Norrin Radd says, hey, I'm going to protect Zenn-La. If anybody comes here, they're going to throw down with me, yada, yada, yada. What ends up, though, is, and we see it coming out right here when he destroys his original home, the one he made with his power cosmic, is he decides he can't stay on Zenn-La because there's nothing for him to do, basically. That he's not going to be able to get the love of his life really back. He's not going to be able to have a relationship with her because she's focusing on restoring Zenn-La. And so we see here was born the Silver Surfer, and it opened the last page right here. We see that he's leaving Zenn-La and surfing out into the galaxy right here. Okay. And then we have another essay about the creation, the history of the Silver Surfer from the Marvel side of this. Another Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, I had this red box right here. This is what got me into Dungeons and Dragons. On the cover, we have the introduction of a new Elder of the universe. This is the Runner. And the names of these guys just baffle me. So we have this kind of nice little panel showing a bunch of the different elders of the universe. Here we have, this is the runner down here. This is the Grand Master. I think we've already met the champion. One of these is the collector, but I don't remember which one. So this is giving some background into what's going on between the elders of the universe and the Silver Surfer, because this issue came out right after West Coast Avengers Annual and Avengers Annual, where in those two stories, the Grand Master conspires to destroy the Silver Surfer, but it's actually, there's a deeper machination going on, a deeper plot going on that really would have been coming out in Silver Surfer issue number 5, but because those appearances in Avengers just happened, need to be addressed here apparently. So it opens up with the champion, and then the Silver Surfer's trying to investigate what was going on with the elders of the universe, why the Grandmaster did what he did. Okay, we have this character named Spirita that's introduced. I don't know anything about this character, and in my Marvel encyclopedia there was nothing about her, other than she might actually be named as another character. If you know, just put it down below. She gives some background on what's going on, and he takes her back to Earth. We have more Kree, Skrull stuff going on. Like, we have multiple pages of what is basically a story about the Kree and the Skrull conflict, and the fact that the Skrulls can't shapeshift anymore. And then it kind of cuts back to Silver Surfer, and then we have this new Elder of the Universe, the Runner, who, as you can guess it, can run. Okay, they end up fighting. The Runner ends up defeating Silver Surfer and thinking he killed him, which, again, as a modern reader, there's 146 issues in this comic, so I know that didn't happen. Here's where he ends up landing. And some mysterious figure with green skin shows up and heals him. Okay, and we find out that, dun dun dun, it's Mantis. And then we end with another one-page essay. All right, so this is where I'm at right now in Old Comic Book Day. I have read issue number 4, and it opens up. We have Silver Surfer and Mantis, and they're surrounded by different elders of the universe. The elders of the universe, I don't have a lot of background knowledge of, and so I had to go back to my Marvel encyclopedia and do some research on the web to find out who they are. Here we have the Grandmasters right here. This is the Collector. We've already met the Champion and the Runner. Mantis is on the cover. This guy right here, the design choice of this character totally baffles. You know, this was coming out in 1987, so we're just on the fringe of all of those heavy hitters in Marvel that would end up leaving for Image. I mean, it's years down the road, but we're getting there. And then we got this guy who looks like he's just wearing cardboard boxes. This guy, his name is the Obliterator. This is his first appearance. So Norrin Radd wakes up with the Mantis helping to heal him. Now, here's another area where I actually had to go back and do some research about the Mantis, because all I know about her is from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and in this time period, Mantis actually had an amazing power set beyond just being able to read and affect people's emotions. This panel right here was one of the reasons why I did a deep dive into kind of the printing, the quality controls in printing in this time period, because not only do we have kind of this bleeding in what should be a pretty solid Silver Surfer image, but we also see what looks to be kind of this blotting on the text here. And as we go on, it goes back and forth where we have really clear pages except for that did, I don't know what color they were trying to go for, but it didn't blend well. To this, like this page right here, where the text is legible, but it's just on the fringe of being blurred to the point you can't read it. And that's throughout the issue. You have some pages, let me skip ahead, where it is really clear. Here's a page like that. And even the art is clear. The printing in the panels is clear. We have clear, strong color choices. So we get like this, but then we get other pages where it is just bad. The first part of this kind of gives some background on the Mantis and why she's where she is, which is helpful because honestly, all of this took place in issues of Avengers many years before, and if I was reading this in 1987, I'd have no idea whatsoever. And then they end up allying each other with each other to go discover what the elders are doing. It cuts over here to the Supreme Intelligence. Is that what that? I think that's the Supreme Intelligence, right? Yeah. On Kreelar, the capital of the Kree Empire. And this is just kind of seeding a little bit more of that conflict between the Skrulls and the Kree. And I'll be honest, if I was reading this at the time, reading a Silver Surfer comic book, I don't know if this would have engaged me. The transition from Silver Surfer story to this kind of other plot line isn't really strong. There isn't a nice transition going from here to here. It just kind of happens where we turn the page and suddenly we're on Kreelar. Give some background. Basically, the Kree figure out that the Skrulls can't shapeshift anymore. And then we have the appearance of a Celestial. And this is, sorry, my dog is moving under my desk. I find this really interesting. It's like, more on this next time. You know, it's like we're leaving this huge cliffhanger, like literally huge cliffhanger on this side story. But, you know, the editor telling us, you know, we're not going to really focus on that anymore. We jump back to, and I think this is a better transition. We jump back to the Norrin Radd story with Mantis. And this is where the printing kind of becomes bad again, where we have colors kind of blur. Like, I feel that right in this panel, there was actually multiple colors, but it's possible that the green light from whatever stone this is giving everybody a greenish hue. I don't know. This is just a really bad page. A lot of exposition, and what we find out before Norrin and Mantis get involved in this. The Grandmaster basically says everything that happened in the West Coast and Avengers annuals right prior to this issue was a part of a plot to make all the elders immortal. Okay, we find out that this is taking place on Ego, who's also an elder of the universe. And Ego suddenly is aware of what's going on because this guy right here was actually like his physical incarnation in the meeting. And so because he was there, it distracted him. And they end up trying to trap the Silver Surfer and Mantis. Mantis ends up showing her martial arts prowess. And they are able to escape. Or at least they think they are. So this is setting up what I think in issue 5, a confrontation between the elders, Silver Surfer and Mantis. We don't get a essay in the back of this that ended in the last issue, but the last issue also kind of implied there'd be a letters page, and there's not.
So
Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you listening to me ramble on about comic books, especially Silver Surfer, which candidly is one of my favorite Marvel characters. I just love the stoic nature of Norrin Radd. If you appreciate listening to me ramble on, please do like, share, subscribe, hit the bell in the corner so you know when I post new content. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about this title and kind of the rundown I shared. Again, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, life really is so much better when we read more comics.